we will be telling you guys some of our favorite books that we enjoyed reading
Yes.
recently. Hi, guys, welcome to the Anything Everything podcast. Hi, guys, we are already on episode 7. So, today we'll be covering a very interesting and fun topic that we were really excited to shoot.
Very excited. I think books, especially these ones, we have curated like over time, and these also showcase our tastes, I
Yeah,
think, in books.
we have very different tastes in reading.
Yeah.
I am more on the thriller suspense side, and she's more.
I'm more literary
Yeah,
fiction
yeah. So
side.
that's what
Yeah.
makes it even more fun. You'll get
Yeah, so we both understand like
different
different
genres.
genres.
Yeah.
Exactly. So without further ado, I think we'll start from the first book.
Yes.
Prisha, do you want to tell everyone what's your favorite book?
So, the first book that I thought that people should really know about, I think people would already know about. It's called A Little Life, and
Like,
so
look at it.
look at.
It's huge, it's chonky, it's a very chonky book, but honestly valid because it does have worth. Every single page does contain
A
a
lot
lot of
actually.
multitudes.
The book in general, it's so like it's so painfully beautiful at the same time, because like the whole book revolves around these four main protagonists. So we have JB, we have Malcolm, we have Jude, and we have William. So like every chapter of that book, it shows like a part of their life, and how they try to how they try to enter a new phase of their life altogether. And in particular, when I first started reading this book, I did not know how heartbreaking and sad and painful
Yeah,
it's going to be. But I think this is one of my favorite top 5 books personally, despite it being sad and melancholic, but still.
I get it because there have been like a lot of comments on how this book was supposed to be sadistic,
Yeah,
or that they are just preying on pain and showing pain in
yeah,
an
yeah, yeah.
extremely pleasurable way. When if you actually read it, you will understand that in some people's life, pain does become one of the most, I think, resounding
Yeah,
factors.
exactly.
And this
And
book
this is
does,
about it.
yeah,
Yeah.
and this book shows that. So even if one doesn't completely understand the wave of pain, you need to realize that some people do deal with things which are predominantly
Yeah,
sad.
in particular, what I really liked about the book was that despite it being sad and heartbreaking at the same time, I really enjoyed the way it was beautifully penned down. Like, when you start reading the book, you don't feel like it's a huge, long, exhausting book.
Yeah.
You just you keep on reading it, because you want to know what happened with every one of them. And yeah, towards the end, we're not gonna give out any spoilers here, but we do recommend this book for you to
Yes.
read.
So yeah, I think Prisha loved
I loved A Little.
The
I think
Little
for the
Life.
both of us, we really enjoyed reading A Little
Yeah.
Life a lot. I think I know a lot of people who are like really like afraid to start it, because they know how heartbreaking it is.
Yes,
But
and also the length of any book might seem
very,
very
yeah, I know it does seem
intimidating.
intimidating, but I think it's worth it. I think it's worth your
It is worth
time.
it. So if you want to check it out, please do.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. Okay.
So
Now
yeah, moving on to the next
on to
book.
the next one. The next one, Prisha doesn't know this, but I have a story behind it. It happened quite recently. So the book that we're going to be talking about is
Orbital.
Orbital by Samantha Harvey. Now we both loved this book. I
Loved it.
I loved it, so I told Prisha about it. Then she bought her own copy. But I have this very funny story about it. So I was at this bookstore called Fictionary, and I was sitting there, and there was this man who was talking to another woman. I think he was like in charge of the store or something, and he kept saying that he loves science fiction because the story actually has a plot line and things to it. And then he said how he hates
Yeah,
literary fiction because he
yeah.
doesn't think a lot of things happen in that. When I think about it, I feel literary fiction is just the story of our lives, and that story is the most intimidating to read
I
because
know.
you might get truths that you never like really
Expected.
understood.
Yeah.
And then he said that he read Orbital. He was like, what is this book?
Oh my god.
It was just talking about the truth of the universe, and it does.
It's
That is
it's
basically
so
that
good.
is
I
basically
think
the Orbital.
a
That
10 on
is the
10
truth of the
personally.
universe, but it has been written so
So
beautifully.
beautifully.
It is the story of like 8 astronauts who are basically
In
in
space.
space, and they basically take 16 orbits around the earth, and it
Yeah.
happens all in one day. So you see them taking an orbit for 16 times. They see sunsets and sunrises, and they see the moon all in the span of
Yeah.
one day. I feel like this book really captured the feelings of dread and
Yeah.
existentialism, and how no matter how scared we are, how big everything else might feel, inherently we are not that big.
Yeah.
Our troubles aren't that big. We ourselves, our lives are actually extremely minute. And once you accept that fact, I think you can live life more freely.
Yeah. I think personally orbital for me as well. So I love reading about space and like stars and like, in general the galaxies and stuff. So when first Anayatha recommended it to me, Orbital, I asked her like, what's the book about? And she specifically told me it's about space and it's about these astronauts who spend like the whole book is spanned over like this whole day. And they are like, taking an orbit around the earth in particular. And I told her like, okay, wait, it's about space and astronauts. Okay, well, I'm gonna read it. And I'm not kidding. I got this book done in like 2 days, 3 days, and I came up to her and I told her ki it just blew my mind.
I think the reason why people really love it is because it just identifies with what we have all been feeling and thinking for so long.
Yeah.
Some books just confirm what we have been feeling, and that is also an extremely important book to read. I think an important fact that this book brought up was that people are either optimists or pessimists. I fall into the other category, the latter category, and that really brings out the fact that life might not amount to anything, that our existence has no meaning. I am of that school of thought that every single thing we do might not really mean much. But then this book, I think, brought me to ask that question, that if life genuinely does not mean anything, that if every action I'm taking every single day has no meaning, then why not actually put an effort?
Yeah.
Do it ironically. That's what I say. Put in
Mm-hmm.
effort ironically,
Mm-hmm.
try ironically, because even if you don't believe any of this matters, then you're not going to be saddened if
Yeah.
whatever works out or whatever doesn't work out. So if there is one thing that this book taught me, was just to try ironically.
Good.
And the fact that I read it around at the start of this year, and still it did so much, like start of 2025, and it still did so
And
much
I
of
think
an
I
impact.
immediately like read it after you got done with, or maybe you were reading it
Yeah,
midway.
because I was talking about it so much to everybody.
And then I like got it like ऐसे jaldi se I got
Immediately,
it. Yeah, I know.
yes.
So yeah,
Okay, yes. So
moving on.
Orbital would be a recommendation.
So the next book that is on our list is Rebecca.
Rebecca. This was the start of my gothic persona.
So this book, the main like the story is set in this estate called Manderley, and we have the main protagonist. She is like a young unnamed girl, and she gets married to the owner of that estate, whose name is Maxim. And so once the girl she gets married and she enters the estate, she gets entangled in the past of Rebecca, the ex-wife of Maxim.
Yeah.
And slowly and steadily, as she tries to uncover what happened, she gets stuck in these lies and deception, and slowly and steadily she gets to know what really happened in that estate with the both of them, because it's like a flashback, and she starts penning down as to what it is. I think personally the author did a very very good job in writing the book, and it's so good.
Yeah, and I feel like goth literature
Is
has,
underrated, I
it's
feel.
very underrated, and it also has a deep roots in descriptive writing.
Yeah.
Like when you enter Manderley, you like look at the place as if it's your own.
Yeah, she
The
does a very
descriptions
good
are
job.
incredible.
Yeah.
And also the fact that I liked was that the protagonist was unnamed.
Unnamed, yeah.
The unnamed protagonist is like, it's a very beautiful way of showing that she's trying to fit into the shadows of Rebecca, but she could
Yeah,
never
she
do
could
it.
not. But that's what makes the book like really very gripping and enticing at the same time, because she tries to uncover what happened between the both of them, and then slowly and steadily we have the
We have
housekeeper.
the
th-
things start
yeah,
unraveling. It's so well done, and I feel like this is much closer to a classic than just any
yeah.
other thriller that you read.
Rebecca was, I think, the classic book
Yeah,
that we read.
it's very well written. So if you guys want any like recommendations in October November season, when it's winter and the world also starts getting cold
Yeah,
and
yeah,
chilly
yeah.
around you,
I think
I think
Rebecca,
we'll recommend Rebecca. So
yes,
yes.
personally.
Moving on, I think this is going to be in my top 5 of all time I've ever read, and not even going to leave, because it left such an indelible mark. So the book I'm going to talk about is Beloved by Toni Morrison. The way I could talk about this book forever and ever. This is genuinely one of the most beautifully, heartbreakingly written books I've ever come across. So she won the what's the main, okay, 3 2. So she won the Nobel Prize for
Oh
this book.
wow.
Yeah, this won the Nobel Prize in literature. And the story is sad but also uplifting by the end. So this follows Seth, a woman named Seth, and it's a post Civil War story. So this shows how a black woman, she's finally freed and she can finally live her life on her own terms, but she doesn't know how to do that anymore, because for so long, if someone chooses and forces an identity on you, and when you're finally free, you don't know how to, cope with that on your own. And the book starts with the fact that she has lost her daughter, and she named her daughter Beloved.
Wow.
And so when her daughter died, she was a baby, okay, she lost her baby, and on her tombstone she did not have money, so the only thing she could put was Dearly Beloved. So we start her story and how she's sad. And this book really talks about how trauma and memory are so physical.
Mhm.
People keep saying that, okay, trauma and memory, they are, they're unconscious, or they're something that you might only understand in your mind. But here in this book, trauma manifests in her house, and it's around her. And in a way, a strange girl comes back to live with her, and you realize there is something off about her. We don't know what it is, what's happening. But then the story starts, uncovering details about who the girl is, memories of Seth, right at the end of the book, that you are your best thing.
Mhm.
And she takes a step back and she thinks about it, because for so long she's been chasing perfection, she's been chasing beauty, and it's so sad because she believes she's not any of that. Because the things she's gone through, she can't see happiness and beauty in herself.
Mhm.
So right at the end, people tell her to stop running, because once you stop running, once you actually confront the unbelievable trauma you've gone through, that's when you can finally take step into your new life. And you have to do that, you have to overrun your trauma, or it will destroy you.
Yeah,
There is
very true.
not one way or the other. So yeah, this book is incredible. The way she wrote it, Toni Morrison, the way she wrote it was incredible. And you need to read this book, not only from like a literary perspective, but just from a historical perspective. So
Mhm.
yes, Beloved is
Yeah.
beloved, so good.
So I think the next book is none other than The Secret History by Donna Tartt. Regarding this book, The Secret History, it's such a perfect blend of obsession and mystery at the same time. It basically, the main theme of this book shows that excessive curiosity can be venomous. In particular, a short summary of this book is that there is our main protagonist. Immediately, we're introduced to him in the book. His name is Richard, and the story is set in this elite Vermont college. And once he enters that college, he is immediately approached by these group of very elite top class students studying in that university in particular. And in the very start, there's nothing very mysterious about them, everything's very normal, they're having their classes. But slowly and steadily, once he starts to uncover what's happening behind the group of students, he uncovers this whole cob of lies and deception, and then ultimately a murder occurs in the college. A perfect blend of, I think, dark academia as well. What do you think,
Yeah, like
Anahita?
if you like those vibes of dark academia and students,
Yeah.
and it's almost Dead Poet Society in just terms of aesthetics. But I think they did a very good job with the amount of mystery they got,
Yeah, exactly.
with the school backing to it.
Yeah, because in the start of the book, it takes like quite a while to delve deep into the story. Like the first few chapters are just, he's just trying to fit in, because he's basically an outsider, Richard, the main protagonist. So the first few chapters just cover up, he meets the professor, he meets the group of elite students, and everything is just normal until something
And the
happens.
professor also has quite a big role
Yeah, in
in
the
in
book.
shaping the
Yeah.
individuals. So yeah,
Yes.
we would recommend
A
A
Secret
Secret
History.
History.
Yes.
After that, we have a book that both of us read very recently, and I found this again in Fictionary, a bookstore, so I'm plugging them. It's called Living
Living
Things, and
Things.
it's been written by Munir Hachemi.
It's so good.
It's such a beautiful, I don't have adjectives enough to describe how incredible this book was. First, I had no idea I would pick this. This was just very random.
Yes.
I was, reading the blurbs of every book over there, and this just caught my eye. And I thought, I think I should bring this home, and I'm so glad I did. So, Munir Hachemi, he won the English Pen Award for this book, and he's a Spanish author. So, this book has been translated,
Translated, yeah.
and I would say that the translator did an incredible job, because, like, this book did very well in understanding what the person was going through as well. So, Julia Sanchez, she is the literally translator of this book, and she deserves her flowers. Okay, now just to talk about what the story does. The story is about four boys
Yeah.
who decide to leave Madrid and go for a very picturesque trip to France and work at vineyards, because it's their dream of,
Job,
working
yeah.
on a more romantic place. But what happens is that they start working at an industrial labor compound instead, where they have to feed poultries, they have to rear them, they have to do a lot of physical brutal labor where they did not think they would end up. And Munir Hachemi, he opens the book saying that this is not an aesthetic story, this is not beautifying anything, this is showing
Yeah.
you the truth
Yeah.
as it is.
He says that, like, what I say, it is what it is. Like,
So
there is
please
no,
don't read
like,
into
yeah, there's
it.
no other meaning behind it.
There is no
Yeah.
symbolism. So yeah, I think it does a beautiful job in
That's same.
showing
Yeah.
that. And it's very like vivid and visceral, like it just throws every imagery at you, and it's true.
And in particular, what this book mainly covers is what I found really, really interesting is that what they expected and what actually happened to them was just completely different. As she said, they were planning to work on a vineyard, but then where they actually ended up working was just completely different.
Yeah. And he starts the book by talking about how he's inspired of writing stories, and the main reason he wanted to go on that vineyard was because he wanted to have experiences, and experiences are what makes authors, right?
Yeah.
Your experiences and the new things you do, that's what inspires you to write well. But then finally, when the book ends, he's just left with that sinking feeling of, I don't think I can write anything of this,
Mhm.
because the imagery and the life that should have been meaningful turned out to be so dull and
Yes.
brutal and so
Yes.
unliterary in nature that it took away all the power that he felt this experience would give him. So yeah, I recommend Living Things to literally every single person out there.
So our next book, it's The Silent Patient, and I think everyone who reads suspense, thriller, mystery genre, they typically like know of this book. In general, I'll just give like a short brief about this book. So we have the story setting. Immediately, we're introduced to the main protagonist of the book called Theo. He's a criminal psychotherapist, and so he becomes obsessed with one of his patients' case, and the patient's name is Alicia. So the backstory to her is that she basically was accused of killing her husband, and ever since then, she has not spoken a word to anyone. So what Theo wants is to get to the bottom of this case, and he wants to uncover what really happened behind the husband and wife duo. But as and when he starts to try and find like little clues, and he goes to their old house, he has this whole like Alicia's painting, which is the main clue that he has for the case. So he tries to unravel everything, and by the end of the book there is this huge plot twist, which I think I did not end up seeing.
It is one of the most legendary plot
It's
twists you
just
could
so good,
read.
and you won't believe I became a fan of this author, and I immediately read his other two works, which is The Fury and The Maidens, which I also recommend. But Silent Patient, if like for all the beginners out there who really want to get into the suspense genre kind of vibes, so you can start with The Silent Patient. Particularly for me, I was like a huge fan of Stephen King, Agatha Christie, Stephen King. Okay, I grew up with Stephen King books. Anita knows the obsession I
Yeah.
have with Stephen King, his movies, and in particular everything. So there's a new movie for Agatha Christie that's just
Seven
released.
Dials, yes.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, we have read the book as well. So they were like my OG murder related authors in particular. But then ever since I read The Silent Patient, I became such a huge fan of the author in particular. Because, sometimes when you read a crime book, the story, like you expect a story to be really good, and when you start reading it, you're just like, okay, well, it didn't meet my expectations. So I started this book with like no expectations at all. So when I picked up the book and I started reading it, and then I immediately like told her, and I think had you already
I had read it,
read the
yeah.
book? It was
And
so
it
good.
was such a good thriller. I've never read a thriller as good as that one.
Yeah, because the thing is, like as we said, even in the start of the episode, we have very conflicting genres. Her genre
Yeah.
is more on the literary side. My genre is more on the murder mystery suspense side. I think for the people out there who really want to start reading a crime related suspense novel, I think Silent Patient is a good starter.
Or even a book to just get you out of your rut.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, the next book that I'm going to be recommending is called My Year of Rest and Relaxation by Otessa Moshfegh. Now, this book, people could either hate with their entire being, or you would love it. It is genuinely that type of book, and only because of context.
Mhm.
If you understand the context, if you are of that mindset at the moment, then you will completely get this book. So the story is very whimsical, it's very satirical. It starts because one girl, she's like 20 years old, advent of 2000s, okay, 2000s are just beginning, and she is going through things. Her world is dark. So she realizes in that moment that I want to sleep. I want to sleep the entire year. I don't want to deal with anything that's going on in my life. I don't want to face any fears. I don't want to overcome any obstacles. All I want to do is just go into deep sleep and relaxation so I can avoid every single thing that's happening in my life. So she starts sleeping 8 hours a day, 14 hours a day, 16 hours a day. She starts taking pills just to sleep every single day.
Oh my god.
And you see one very whimsical, like, psychiatrist called Dr. Tuttle, and she takes the shape of those, high and grand, wealth and beauty gurus who, tell, "Ah, you should really read, you should really meditate every single day to feel a deep calm within yourself." Okay, so the only thing that doctor gives us is medicine, because that's the only thing that's helping her sleep, and that's all she wants. Now the book ends on a positive note in a way for her, and the book has three characters. You never know the name of our protagonist again, so it's like Rebecca, you don't know who
Mm-hmm.
she is. She could be
Unnamed.
any of
Yeah,
us.
yeah.
So, but the reason I liked this book so much was because that darkness is something we all face, and some amount of deep dread and exhaustion that is within our bones. And the world expects us as women to keep having a positive outlook, to keep doing more, to keep working. But imagine that if the world around you in itself is so bleak and so dull and brutal, why am I supposed to be so powerful all the time? Why am I supposed to be so strong all the time? So it is actually the most assertive and powerful decision that any person can take, that when the world isn't that strong, why should I be?
Mm.
So I shall also rest.
Mm.
I shall also do what I want, and that choice is the most freedom she has ever felt. So if you are going through something where you feel very exhausted about the world and want to question why am I waking up and doing the same thing every day, My Year of Rest and Relaxation is for
Is
you.
one, yeah. And I think for like a last couple of honorable mentions, I think one of them is Frankenstein,
Frankenstein, absolute
Anita's
love of my life.
Gold. And
Yes.
I think for the both of us that we recently read was Yellowface by Rebecca. She is just such a phenomenal author in particular.
Incredible. You should also read Babel by
But
her.
oh, it's so good. I was just like, it was just
Yeah,
about to
it's
come
so
out.
good.
It's so good.
I think I would also like to recommend Maps of Our Spectacular Bodies
Oh
by
yeah.
Maddie Mortimer, because it personifies cancer in an extremely interesting and unique way, which you never really see.
So I think these were our some of our recently favorite books that we enjoyed reading in particular. So I'm so excited what 2026 is going to hold for us and the new books that we're going to read in particular.
And we will continue this series
Series,
or
yeah.
just talking about books in other episodes. Do let us know if you have any recommendations for us. Just put them in the comment section. And if you want us to do any analysis on one book, we would love to do
Love to
that.
do
We
it, yeah.
would love talking about one book forever. And like and share.
Yes, so we'll see you in the next one. Bye.
Bye.